Hello and welcome to the help video for Biology B1, 5th of June 2013. This is the higher tier paper. So standard front cover, and then we're into the first couple of questions, which are the crossover questions between the foundation and the higher tier paper. So classic Semmelweis style question. Very common in B1 exam papers. So we've got some information there about percentage of women who died in 2 different wards, and then we've got some information, some written information about doctors and nurses working on ward A and B, and doctors only working on ward A and not in ward B for after 1940. First thing we need to do is describe the effect on death rate of having only nurses working. To gain full marks, you must refer to table 1, so make sure you mention some of the numbers. I'd probably go for 2 bullet points, the first one describing, so saying what's happening, and the second one to back that up with numbers. Next bit is suggest an explanation for the difference you described in part A. So why do you think that was? That's what suggest is all about. Next bit, we've got 1947, Semmelweis told the doctors to wash their hands each time they began to work in ward A, and it shows the death rates after 1947. It says Dr. Semmelweis was right to tell the doctors to wash their hands. What evidence is there to support Dr. Semmelweis telling the doctors to wash their hands? Now we need to use information from table 1 and table 2. 3 marks available, so use bullet points. Say why he was right, but you must back it up with data from table 1 and from table 2. Next bit is comparing it with modern death rates, so 0.1% of women die, so the situation's improved dramatically. So medical understanding has improved since the 1850s, but what else apart from hygiene would lead to lower death rates? So we're not talking about cleaning equipment or cleaning hands, we're talking about something else. So come up with 2 sensible reasons for that. Next question, again very standard question for a B1 paper, is to evaluate some diet programs. So here we've got 3 groups of people were given different slimming programs. The 4th group was a control group, and we've got some data there for how their mean change of body mass in kilograms changed over 6 months. So first one, what should the control group eat? Why did the scientists include a control group? So why is it important to have a group that aren't involved in the slimming program? It says the 3 groups of volunteers using the slimming programs each showed a similar pattern of body mass loss over 6 months. Describe the pattern, so say what happened. And then it says, and 2 marks available, so 2 bullet points. Then all the slimming programs seem to be effective. How does the information on the graph show this? So come back to the graph, pull some data out. Why does it show that they're all effective? Okay, next one, this is the crossover question with the foundation tier paper. You will be assessed for using good English, organising information clearly and using specialist terms. So we've got a carbon cycle there, we've got carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, green plants, animals and microorganisms. Describe how living things are involved in the constant cycling of carbon. So our 3 key processes here are photosynthesis, respiration and decay. So you need to mention each 3 of those key words, and then just a little bit of an explanation as to how they all link together to constantly cycle carbon. Lots of paper to fill, so make sure you fill it. Okay, this is the higher tier questions only. So one factor that may affect body mass is metabolic rate. So define metabolic rate. Have this definition nailed down for the real thing, so you can just recite it like a parrot. Metabolic rate is affected by the amount of activity a person does. Give 2 other factors that affect it. So again, very classic question, you need to know the answer to that. Next one, predicted early death is the number of years that a person will die before the mean age of death for the whole population. So you're given some data here. So this is ideal body mass, and this is predicted early death. So someone being off in terms of below their body mass or above their ideal body mass. This is a predicted number of years that it would take off their life if they were those masses. says here, the number of times above or below ideal body mass is given by the equation actual body mass divided by ideal body mass. In the UK, the mean age of death for women is 82. A woman has a body mass of 70 kilograms, ideal mass is 56. Use the information from the graph to predict the age of this woman when she dies. So 2 marks available. It is quite a complex question that for just 2 marks, but see if you can get through to a sensible age at death. Obviously if it's something like -3 or 150, it's probably wrong, so think about a sensible number there. The woman could live longer by changing her lifestyle. Give 2 changes she should make, so think about 2 sensible answers. Actually a bit of a giveaway question, that one, for 2 marks. Now we're on to plant hormones. So name 1 plant hormone. So think about what you've learned about in your lessons. And then we've got, here we're doing some, getting some cuttings and working out how to make new plants from plants that are already there. So we've got a potted plant. Remove the leaf, we scrape off a few cells, put it in agar jelly, keep it in sterile conditions, and we get a new potted plant. So tissue culture is a type of asexual reproduction. Give the main features of asexual reproduction. 3 marks, 3 bullet points. Make sure you put plenty of detail for the 3rd mark. Another method of producing new plants is by taking cuttings. Suggest 1 advantage of using tissue culture and not using cuttings to produce plants. There must be a standard advantage. Write that down. Again, very standard question. Next one, this is very standard type of question for a biology paper. A load of information, and then you've got to pull out some ideas and some kind of points to make from that information. So it says, drugs are used to treat cardiovascular diseases. That's diseases of the heart and blood vessels. What is a drug? So define a drug. Remember, this is a higher tier paper, so put down a good quality definition. People can be treated for cardiovascular diseases with statins or aspirin. Information about these 2 drugs is given in the table. So there we've got some information about statins and some information about aspirin. Now we need to use some exam techniques here, so make sure you are actively reading. In other words, you are underlining the key points for the information for statins and for aspirin. Next bit, would you recommend statins or aspirin for the treatment of cardiovascular diseases? In your answer you should give your recommendation. So would you recommend statins or would you recommend aspirin? Then use the information from the table to support your recommendation by making comparisons of the 2 drugs. It's given you what it wants to happen there. You need to compare the 2. So say this one does this and that one does that, and then give your recommendation. 5 marks available. You can use bullet points because it doesn't say you'll be looked at for your the quality of your written out answer. Next one, diagram 1, we've got a light sensitive layer in the eye, so label A and label B. Then on diagram 1, add labels, well we've done that bit. The junction between the neuron, connecting the neuron and the impulse to the brain, what name is given to the junction? So again, just a keyword. And in what form is information passed across the junction? Again, sensible answer there will get you the mark. Next bit, diagram 2, now we're looking at reflex reactions. So in the blink reflex, light from the bee reaches the light sensitive cell in the eye. The muscles in the eyelid shut the man's eye before the bee hits the eye. Describes, say what, the pathway taken by the nerve impulse in the blink reflex. So this isn't what we were talking about before, this is now a reflex. So 4 marks available. Describe it, just say what's happening, mention keywords, think about how it's different to the previous one, and use bullet points, so 4 bullet points. Next one we've got swordfish. So ancestors of swordfish had short swords, modern swordfish have long swords, so obviously something's changed. Swordfish use their swords to injure prey. The injured prey are easier to catch. The information in the box shows one theory, so we've got lots of generations and gradually this sword is getting longer and longer. Which scientist suggested the theory shown in the box? Next one, Darwin suggested that evolution is a result of natural selection. Describe how natural selection could result in modern swordfish with long swords developing from ancestors, so the ones that came before them, with short swords. So 4 marks available here. Use 4 bullet points and describes, just say how, the modern swordfish has developed from the shorter sword ancestors. Scientists in the 1800s accepted both a theory shown in the box and Darwin's theory. Now most scientists only accept Darwin's theory, give one reason why, so I try and think about why that might be. Next question, we've got again some information to look at and then decipher. So plankton live in the sea. The diagram shows plant plankton and animal plankton drawn to the scales shown. So we've got plant plankton seems to be quite small, animal plankton a bit larger. There's some data in terms of the populations of plankton through the year. So we've got plant plankton peaking in around April sort of time, and then animal plankton seem to peak in early June, and then plant plankton peak again in about mid-September. So it says basking sharks eat animal plankton. Basking sharks grow up to 8 meters long. Which is the correct shape for the pyramid of biomass to show the relationship between plant plankton, animal plankton and basking sharks in June? So look at June, look at which one's peaking, look at which one is very low, and think about the basking sharks, which are absolutely enormous, and think about their size compared. So try and work out which one it will be. Next one, they've repeated the graphs for you there, and then graph 2 shows changes in some of the conditions in the upper layers of the sea around the UK. So we've got light levels in this line here, mineral ions in the water, which are obviously going to be useful for growth, aren't they? And then we've got temperature. So obviously the higher the temperature, the more we're going to get growth happening. So the population of plant plankton increases between February and April. Suggest one reason for the increase. So look at this graph. Why would it increase in that time frame? Next one, the population of animal plankton changes between April and July. Suggest explanations for the changes. So go back to here, April to July. So have a look here, look at what's going on, and then try and use this data here to explain why that might be the case. And then the concentration of mineral ions changes between February and December. Suggest explanations for these changes. That's 3 marks, last 3 marks in the paper, likely to be the A-star marks. So 3 bullet points, try and score at least 2 out of 3. Why might those levels change over that time?